things. So, hey, there's nothing wrong with having just blank shirts. I mean, they're good work shirts too. So if I'm tooling around, like cleaning my car and stuff,
I saved my graphic tees for going out and stuff.
yeah. So anyway, we're live. Welcome, guys, to another Plasticast. I'm joined here by Dawn
Hello, everybody.
and Sideburn.
What's up, everybody?
And Megamus is out on assignment right now, so um,
Yeah, just insert the Mission Impossible theme at this point, and you'll be good to go.
it's very, very true. So we're going to talk some strange crossover stuff that's going on out there. Been seeing a lot of this synergetics. Is that how you say it? I can't say the word right. It's crossover.
Synergetics.
Yeah, it's this crazy crossover thing we got going on.
But yeah, like it's. I don't know. I think was it last year that Takara announced it? It's like this. I don't know what. I don't really know what. It's such a weird thing. Like Takara was just like, yeah, we're announcing this Synergetics brand name, and then underneath it is like, I think the Transformers one. They call it T-Spark, but then it also included things like the Zoids, like high-end model kits and all this different stuff. But as far as it's concerned for Transformers, it's the T-Spark label, but it's all underneath that Synergetics.
Yeah, it's a very eclectic mix of stuff that you never thought they would work together, and some do, some don't. But it crosses stuff that I never thought we would see. You know, and it's also stuff coming out that I'm interested in. But we mentioned this in the our planning chat. I don't want to call this Masterpiece Plus because that was the old term for when they re-released a figure in the Masterpiece line. But I don't know about y'all, but it feels like this is maybe a level above Masterpiece.
Yeah,
But maybe in particular, so like the what's that line? They released the hot rod that was Adamus
Yeah,
Machina.
that was basically
Um,
the Flame Toys, the
yeah.
Flame Toys Rodimus from IDW that could actually transform it just at a slightly smaller scale.
yeah. I know they just released a different colored version, which is more of a shattered glass one. It's
Well,
kind of
it
black with like
actually
purple and gray on him.
it's not Shattered Glass. He actually, from what I understand from the guys on RFC, he actually adopted that color scheme somewhere during
Yeah,
the
during
during that run of comics. I haven't read anything IDW since before All Hail Megatron. That's when I pretty much dropped
I never got that
most
far
of
in
them.
More Than Meets the Eye, but I know he went to that like blue
Yeah.
flames,
I
black
mean,
people's color
it's
scheme, but
definitely would give you Shattered Glass 5. So I mean, they can market it as that, and it wouldn't be that far off.
It's very true. I think it's a really cool looking um, design. I actually don't mind the color change. The color change is pretty cool. But yeah, they got that new Predaking. Did you show pictures
That
of? Did you share pictures of that one?
yeah, I put them in the
Okay,
text channel,
I'm gonna try to pop them up while we're talking about it.
and a link to TFW there. But yeah, so the second, which is funny because you have AMT 01, which is Rodimus, which seems like a decent place to start. But then immediately AMT 02 is Predaking.
yeah,
Um,
and that's there. There's like there's escalation of like you start off with a new line, you start off with more core characters, and then you jump into a combiner on your second outing, and it's like I've heard the Rodimus was pretty well done from a quality standpoint, but like, hey, I've rode my bike once, off come the training wheels, and then here's your combiner. Granted, if you look at a lot of the pictures that are online, this Predaking is very disproportionate to each other in beast modes. So,
is there picture? Because I don't know if I
don't think
the
they
link
have pictures of them individually yet.
Yeah, they do. I've seen them. Let me look for them real quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you can find those. I only found the one with them in combined, which makes it's really hard to get a scale of it. I mean, I see in one of these pictures next to it is one of the, it's like a Zoid. So I'm assuming this thing's probably like 14 to 16 inches tall. It's not like, I don't think it's necessarily Titan class, what we think of Titan class, but
no, there are some. We talked about this a little bit on RFC this week, and that there is a picture that someone did find with it beside of that Rodimus, and it's only about maybe half again, if that, taller than the Rodimus. So it's definitely not a Titan class. It may get close to what I'm calling the Titan Junior class. The Star Convoy is at that lower Titan price point. So possibly he'll be somewhere around there. I'm very tempted by it because despite the fact that there is some disproportion in the beast modes, I think as a combiner, it mostly works out well. And I think whatever discrepancies they are with the beast modes combined, posing will probably take care of a lot of that.
I mean, usually when they do like stock setups, especially with prototypes, they can't do any crazy dynamic posing usually because the joint tolerances and stuff just aren't there yet, unless they actually have like a final prototype to show.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is resin printed or whatever the case may be.
So yeah, the tolerance levels on prototypes, stuff like that, I mean, you really can't show any crazy dynamic thing. That's why sometimes some of these stock pictures you see really don't look that great. But honestly, I think, me and Cyber were talking about this, I'm a big fan of Zoids, and I think it would be amazing if they actually all turned into Zoids that combined into Predaking. I mean, it's not too far from it because it's really
the Predacons. Yeah, the Predacons were pretty close to Zoids as they were, but yeah, it's that. I mean, that would be really cool if they did something like that in the future. But yeah, this guy is I can't really peg down what style they were going for. I'm guessing they were really just kind of going for their own style when it comes to this one compared to Rodimus was very clearly more than meets the eye Rodimus, right?
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I mean, it really does look like more than meets the eye.
Well, because they're even calling the repaint Lost Light, but this guy seems kind of, but it really kind of reminds me of some of those early, like super stylized, and I guess some of the even more recent ones, super stylized, like third-party Rodimuses, or not Rodimuses, but Predakings. They're really just kind of going all out with like that, with like the profile and the silhouette of Predaking at the scale, and it's something that it does. It's not really. It doesn't set out to do what Masterpiece did, but it's hard to not look at it and think of it as some sort of. It's definitely some sort of very high end collectible.
Yeah,
I mean, that Rodimus was $200, right?
yeah. I mean, it's almost like they're kind of going for like a Bandai Soul Chigoken kind of level. Is
Yeah.
if anyone's familiar with that, that's what the high end best, that kind of thing.
I mean, considering the price point on some of this stuff that's supposed to be coming out, did we? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did they ever announce how much money the Godzilla ones were going to be? They were coming out.
They were about $60 a piece, give or take, depending on where you get them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is more into, I would say, a little higher than what a normal one would be if you got it at retail.
Oh, that Predaking is all new molds. We're looking at. I'm going to be great. I'm still looking for the pictures. I'm just not finding the pictures
Yeah.
of the
Of them individually.
Predakings yet.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
still
Because
looking.
it reminds me of Feral Rex.
I feel like
Like
it's
the
gonna have to
design
be.
does.
Yeah.
But
I feel like what did Hot Toys? Not Hot Toys. But they did a like Kuro.
Urakara Kuda. Yeah.
Yeah, Kurai. They did a Predaking, right? What did that?
No, I don't think they've done a Predaking.
Oh, did they not do a Predaking?
I don't believe they have done a Predaking yet.
Yeah, because I was trying to think if maybe that was closer to that style. I mean, because it kind of has. I guess because Flame Toys also did the Lost Light Rodimus. That one seems to be popular. A popular design that I was thinking that they had. Oh, here we go. I found an old grayscale image of.
Yeah, I that's the one I found. Did you find yours at TFW 2005?
No, I found one on like it's linking me to Facebook, but I just found the TFW one.
Okay.
Here, I'll
yeah,
link
if you want to post that to get an
Yeah,
idea.
just drop
But
the
yeah,
link.
that gives a good idea. It's also pictured next to the Rodimus, so that way you get an idea of
yeah.
Yeah, being Rodimus.
So it's maybe like 1.5 Rodimuses then.
See, Predaking is in that straight A stance, and
Yeah.
Rodimus is in a dynamic action pose. So if you straighten Rodimus up to an A stance,
so he's probably more. Yeah, so he's maybe around 14 inches, maybe at the tip of the wings, because I think Rodimus was like 9 inches, from what I read.
Right. But if you look at the pictures of the actual Predacons in beast mode, you can definitely see Razor Claw got the lion's share of the mass.
Mm-hmm.
Pun
intended. But in robot mode is where it really shows off the. Yeah, I'm guessing it's sort of like.
They don't look too bad in the beast modes. In the beast modes, they don't look too bad.
But robot mode is where you definitely see your size discrepancies come into play.
For sure.
Very much more of a classic Scramble City Combiner kind of thing, where you have a very large torso like Silverbolt or Defensor, Hotspot, and then you have the 4 smaller limbs. Although I'm not saying these can scramble City, I'm just saying that's kind of the feeling that I get looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the original Predaking was kind of a scramble. You can swap the arms and then swap the legs, but that was about all you could do. You couldn't do like a full scramble city. Like
yeah, well, I mean,
the other is pretty much what it
yeah.
could do.
But it's like I was saying, I think this Predaking, for the most part, sorry, does do a really good job as a combiner. I think there is a little bit of lankiness disproportionate between Razor Claw and the Predacons that are attached to him. But I believe posing, it will look a lot better in like an action or dynamic pose versus, and we also have to remember, this is not G1 Predaking, who was extremely posable individual figures for the time for the most part. But it's not going to be that same bricky, blocky shape that we're familiar with.
No, I mean it's not going to be like the what was it? Titan Return, was that what they put it under for the Titan Return Predaking that was officially released, the last one?
Yeah.
It won't be as I don't think it's going to have the huge chunks on
Oh no,
Tantrum
it,
and yeah.
yeah. I think a lot of the combiner parts. I don't think that this is not going to be an all-in-one thing like you see from Ocular Max or something like that. I believe what we're seeing is Razor Claw will be all the stuff will come with him, other than their individual guns and stuff.
So I'm wondering if they're going to sell them individually or if it's just going to be a big box set.
It'll be a box set. I think this is almost like a HasLab in a way that they probably looked at doing individuals just for grins and giggles. But for this thing to sell, no one is going to want to chase down 6 higher end Takara pieces through whatever website this is going to end up being, to just in general. It'll be easier to sell it as a set.
Right.
And I think like you said earlier, to me, this is kind of Transformers Solo Chogokin. And so what they're not really selling us 5 Predacons. They're selling us Predaking.
Yeah.
And Predaking just happens to turn into 5 Predacons.
Exactly. I think
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way people this style is its own style. This is not really going to fit with anything except maybe that Rodimus. As far as I have a shelf, I want this shelf to have the same visual theme. I put this Predaking on a shelf. You've got the only thing that might work with that, and this is a stretch, is the Make Toys Cross Dimension stuff, and that's even being a stretch.
Yeah.
With that Megatron, that was the double-barreled gun, and those couple of different Optimuses they did, and that
you might be able to use it with some of the Flame Toys stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say, somebody's going to build a Flame Toy shelf. That's pretty much what they're going to do with this.
Yeah.
Or the very stylized IDW stuff.
Yeah. But now, when this came out, I made a predict. This is one of my, because in RFC we do our yearly predictions at the beginning of the year, and this was revealed right when we were doing that show, and I said we will probably see a reissue of that Combiner Wars Predaking because of this. Because one, we know that Hasbro likes to, they keep an eye on the secondary market, and they release stuff that has gotten to be very expensive on the back end. And sorry, Hank's pitching a fit to go back outside, and it's too late for him to go out. But so yeah, I think this is going to be for a very specific kind of robot collector, not just Transformers, but a robot collector that has bought Solo Chogokin, that goes for the Takara Masterpiece stuff from the Braves. I'm not even going in on some of that Brave stuff because it's just too expensive, and I don't have the money right now.
I think this really strikes a Super Robo sort of like collector.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I want this Predaking.
I mean, you could.
I am terrified of the price. I am
Oh,
terrified of what this.
I was gonna say. So what are your price predictions? I'm gonna say because this sort of strikes me as the same sort of flame toys. The Kurakara Curry line or whatever it is. So and I'm thinking like easily $450, if not more.
I was banking on maybe around 5. That's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm thinking between 4 and 5, and the reason I'm giving such a wide range is where you order it from, whether it be or where it's available to be ordered from, Japanese retailer, the strength or weakness of the yen, individual discounts from various places like AmiAmi usually is better than HobbyLink Japan for pre-order discounts and stuff like that. But also we have to look at what tariffs may be at that time when this comes out. So I mean, I would like to think it would be between 350 and 400 for them if they're going after the Soul Chigoken collector mindset, kind of like they did the MPG train bots. When the train mode got the priority, you know they were going after the train collectors in Japan who didn't care that it was a robot. That's why the train modes got that much detail done in the robot, and the combined mode suffer. So that 350 to 400 is the general price range for a lot of Soul Chigoken stuff. But I just don't know on this if it'll be less than 450.
Yeah.
So I mean, looking at this, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, I'm agreeing with that. I think like 450, 500 is probably going to be the price, honestly.
Yeah, but they also can't price themselves out of people ordering it because there's a lot of super robots in that 350 to 450 price range from a lot of different companies, and you're dropping a $500 Predaking. That's not someone that's going to pull in a lot of the non-Transformer people.
I think it's not going to be like a huge run of them either.
Oh yeah,
That's the
this
other
is going to be. This is going to be you if you want it and you see it and you can pre-order it, you get it now because you will pay the late tax later on.
Yeah. And people who are like with these sorts of things, I feel like the late tax doesn't hit you as hard for like normal Hasbro stuff, but I mean when I was searching, just like Rodimus is already 300 plus depending on where you're looking.
Yeah.
Now I see, because I'm probably, I mean, Predaking's freaking cool, and he's the Predacons, right? He's the origin of the name Predacons. So I'm super interested in it. So that's something I'm definitely gonna look for. But yeah, I mean, there's no way that it's not gonna be. And if anyone who is used to Soul Chogokin, the Chogokin line, you know that those are expensive toys.
The other thing is the quality. If anybody has never handled Soul Shigogen, there's a lot of very, very hefty pieces. Things feel quality when you get them. This thing better add up to that quality. They can't have any QC issues, otherwise you're going to completely kill your market on this one.
And I really wish I had, if I could just at least handle the Rodimus to really get a good feel for how that figure is. I never heard bad things about it. I just don't know many people who got it. And on top of that, I don't, I've never heard bad. I've never heard like absolute praise for it either.
Yeah. Well, I do know. I follow a couple people on YouTube, and I do know at least one of the reviewers that I follow has replaced their whatever they were using third party Lost Light Rodimus with that one. So I do know at least one person that has replaced it. But here's my worry. If this is from the same team, and again I may be wrong, that did the Masterpiece train bots. We all saw how badly that combiner turned out. I'm not saying it's going to be
Yeah.
the same way, because these are figures where Predaking was given the priority, and you got the robots and beasts that you could, which I feel like that was what they did for Lio Kaiser
Mhm.
from the HasLab that just recently ended. Lio Kaiser was given the priority of looking right and being well built, and you kind of got the robots that you could from that.
Right.
That's the way I feel about this Predaking. But I still have worries. I mean, I have Tryon 3 from Soul Chigoken. It's
Mhm.
one of the first Gundams in that line. I should not have that figure. I waited over a decade, because as soon as Gundam Build Fighters aired, and I saw that, and they basically used Mike Gaines' transformation sequence to a degree, I thought, that is a Soul Chigoken. That is way, and everyone laughed at me. The guys on RFC, Don, it's a Gundam. It's Soul Chigoken. That'll never happen. It took me 10 years, but I got it. And it's fairly sturdy, but it does have a little bit of a wobble in it. And it's just from the weight of the combiner fitting together, not 100%. It's well built.
Mhm.
But when you got that much Chigoken in there,
Diecast.
You know,
There's a
it-
reason all of them come with stands. There's a reason all of
Exactly,
them come
yeah.
with stands.
yeah. So I love my Tryon 3. I bought 2 of them. I bought 2 Tryon 3s. Because I have been waiting for that figure for over a decade at this point. But I am worried about the Predaking stability. But I'm hoping if they focused on Predaking first,
Yeah.
stability won't be an issue.
I mean, I'm gonna say I think it when I look up the pictures of it, I think it does a lot of cheating. To form Predaking. I don't think the waist and the biceps and the upper thighs and all that stuff, I don't think any of that transforms into the individual robots. I think there's a lot of extra parts that form the robot mode. Just looking at it, now I might be proven wrong, but to some degree, it at least looks to be the case. And because it might, maybe it's pulling some of like what the Titan did for Predaking, with some of that stuff hidden inside the bots, but it doesn't really. I mean, those bots look pretty small. The individual bots.
I'm guessing, if you remember the old Scout class from the Bayverse movie years,
Mhm.
I'm guessing they're not going to be much bigger than a Scout, or maybe, to use something a little more current, Studio Series 86 Bumblebee,
Mhm.
because that is a very, very small deluxe.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know if
the-
it'll be quite that small. I was thinking maybe closer to that Gamer Edition Prime that just came out, that deluxe version. I was thinking
Well,
maybe
recall
that
that-
kind of mass.
That Rodimus is only a 9-inch figure, and it looks like the individual limbs are probably maybe up to his mid thigh, if they're that big at all.
Yeah, I
Um,
see what you mean. They would be
so
a little
they're
smaller.
they're probably like 4-inch figures for the most part, with Razor Claw being probably closer to
Voyager, you think?
I mean-
maybe 6 or 7 inches.
I'm wondering if they're actually going to have the engineering built into, like, say, like take Dive Bomb for instance, like to actually create that extended part for the whole elbow, or is it going to pop in half like the modern combiners now, and you just put a wedge between it, like a piece? I don't know if that was going to happen or not.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of parts forming. Again, like I said, looking at it more, it seems like maybe the the biceps are actually part of the, because I see some like hinges and um, attachments there, but I feel like there's going to be some like extra parts. It just doesn't seem like a lot of the middle of that Predaking is present, and when you look at Razor Claw, right?
Yeah.
Um, or any of the other Predacons, but
Yeah, it's
I
really
mean we'll
hard to
see. We'll
tell.
see.
It would have been nice to see colored photos of those whenever they did that whole reveal.
Yeah, I imagine that this I imagine that the painted version is probably glued together like a brick. That's
Probably.
usually how these things go. If you start inspecting them in pictures, you start seeing hot glue in spots. Because the tolerances are usually not great on these prototypes. But
It's very
yeah, I
true.
mean,
So
these
speaking
things
of,
are very interesting, and it is pretty like wild that they went. Here's Rodimus. Okay, here's a combiner. I mean, that is just a wild jump to make. It's kind of a make or break jump to make because a combiner, if you do it wrong, it's going to cost you a lot. But
it's very true. But speaking of prototypes, let's take a look at this. The Macross thing, the thing that we thought we would never see in Transformers ever. Optimus Prime turning into a Macross Valkyrie. This thing is insane. I love the fact that the trailer turns into a stage and he's holding a guitar. And he doesn't
yeah,
have a matrix, it's all speakers.
yeah. From my understanding, is that the guitar is like the main character from, because I think it's Macross 7.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's actually the guitar from the anime. Um, yeah, it's a wild one. It kind of came out of left. I think what came out of left field more is because we knew. I think when they announced the T Spark stuff, when they announced the Synergenics in particular, I think they had some brands listed. They had Diaclone, Zoid. I think they had, and when they had Godzilla, we already got the Godzilla crossovers. They're horribly disappointing compared to the stuff we're getting now. But we had Monster Hunter. We're getting the two Monster Hunter Optimus Primes, the Rathalos Prime. Um, and then I think they also had Pat Labor listed.
Yeah.
Pat Labor,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, we haven't seen anything from that one yet, but um, Macross was on that list, but we really didn't see anything from it. And then for this to drop and for it to be an Optimus Prime, I think was the biggest sort of um, unexpected thing about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's definitely
See-
strange.
yeah. See, it's my only passing experience with Macross was as Robotech. That's what I grew up on. Well, I was in my mid-teens by that point, but watching Robotech, watching the series, the trilogy as it would basically become, I I liked the show. I liked the characters, but it was never anything that stuck with me. So I can appreciate Valkyries and I can appreciate all the mecha from Macross and Robotech, but I don't really. I've got Jetfire. He's really the only thing I ever really wanted to own, other than the motorcycles from Southern Cross, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this looks great, but to me it's another Valkyrie. And if you look at the bottom, he's been silver bolted. It's a folded up robot on the bottom of a jet. And it's just I've seen them do Valkyries better that look more streamlined and more whooshable. This is
Yeah.
not whooshable. It is because he's just folded up under.
So this is my question: the trailer. How is this trailer, you think, going to somehow?
I think it's going to be like a launch platform, sort of like what Astro Train's coal tender wound up being. A weapons storage / launch platform. That's the way I'm thinking.
Because
Yeah,
if you
it's
look
hard
at
to
the
say.
trailer itself, it's got this weird part sticking out because it looks like Rodimus Prime's trailer, the way it's
Yeah.
designed. I'm like, do you think there's a hidden mode in this that possibly turns into some kind of truck of some sort?
But I was kind of wondering, like, because yeah, like you said, there is a part sticking off that looks like it should attach to something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering the same thing. Like maybe there's a way to fold up this jet to become maybe just like a front cab that connects to this. Yeah, we'll have to see more about that, but it definitely looks like there should be more to it that we're not seeing.
There should be more to it than meets the eye. Yes.
Yeah, more to it than meets the eye.
Exactly.
Problem is, it's meeting the eye. We just don't understand it. I think that's the bigger problem.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's I'm kind of there with you. Like, I am being an anime fan. I am very aware of Macross through the ages. I've only watched what was Robotech in America, and truthfully, I only ever what was the original Macross part of that. I never even watched the what would have been what Mospita and the other one. But from what I know of it is like as the franchise went along, it became a lot more of a idol anime mixed with a mecha anime. I mean, some of that was there with like Lin Minmay or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that was her name in the original. Yeah. So that kind of fits like the musical theming of it, but it was kind of really just it was out of left field, and I kind of when I first saw it, I'm like, it's starting to really feel like Synergenics for Transformers is just going to be 100 versions of Optimus Prime.
Well, I think it's almost like they're basically crossing over with everything they can. It's sort of like what Hasbro's been doing with a lot of the licensings, letting other people take their stab at it, like with Power Rangers, getting the Turtle crossover, getting the Naruto crossover, which was like, I think up until this with the Valkyrie and the Macross crossover, I think that Naruto crossover was probably the most out of left field thing we had seen in terms of just general crossovers.
But for sure,
for the Sonic one's got me too.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
that's
yeah, all those kind of I don't know. Sonic kind of makes sense because they're like a very large. You have the Sonic movies are in the store, and then the Turtles make sense because it's another American franchise. A lot of the crossovers up to this point made sense, and then I kind of agree with Don. Naruto came out of left field. Like Naruto's huge in America. Like it was one of the animes. There's like Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Naruto, One Piece.
My Hero Academia is like a big thing right now, so I'll be surprised they don't do anything with that.
And then I had to pick that one up. The Naruto one. I enjoyed Naruto. But the bigger thing was it's the only way to get that frog mold. They never released it. It's very clearly supposed to be Spitter.
Yeah, I mean that's a brand new mold. So we were talking about this again when it came out that we're hoping it's not locked into the molds and the sprues for the other figures, so that we'll be able to get this down the road on its own. But
I'm more worried that it was a mold they never used that they repurposed for Naruto.
They found a way to finally get it out, and this
Yeah.
was what they chose to do. Possible. It's very possible.
But yeah, so I mean, because when it comes to the synergetics so far, like, and we'll talk about the next one here after this, but it's like Macross is Optimus Prime. The Monster Hunter crossovers are Optimus Prime.
Godzilla.
The Godzilla was Optimus Prime versus Megatron.
Yeah, the Mecha Godzilla. Now those are very. You know how everybody
Lazy?
says, yeah, okay. I was trying to find a way to be polite, but yeah, I even canceled my pre-orders, and I love that Grimlock mold. I love it to death. That's one. It's like, did it hit the Pulse sale? Okay. How much is it? Okay, I might get it. Because
It's so sad compared to the rest of the Synergetics line. Like, even the Monster Hunter ones, a lot more effort was put into those.
yeah, it's lazy. The Grimlock as Godzilla and the Optimus as Mecha Godzilla. They're pastiches. They're not really a crossover. It's sort of like having the Evangelion Optimus. I've only seen the Evangelion finale. That scarred me from wanting to see anything else dealing with Evangelion. But I love those colors. So I did get a version of that Optimus in those colors.
You
But
mean
it's
Shattered
just-
Glass? No.
Yeah. Well, not quite Shattered Glass, but
Close.
again, close enough. Yeah.
I have a
But
joke
these-
where Pam from The Office threw the same picture, and I have
Yeah.
Eva Prime next to Shattered Glass Prime.
Yeah. But the Godzilla and the Mecha Godzilla, they're just sad, and it's a low hanging fruit cash grab.
I have pre-ordered them and canceled them 3 times.
I've been
Yeah,
on
I'm
the
gonna wait.
fence because I've been.
I mean, like, I should be the audience.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
That's
Godzilla.
why-
I have a load of Godzilla stuff and a load of Transformer stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I just feel so insulted on how lazy.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
I bought-
I personally I thought about pre-ordering them myself because I really like those. But I also saw that on 3D Cults, there's a guy out there that's actually made parts to make them more Godzilla and more Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, you linked those to me, and they definitely make a
very
difference.
tempted because I have a friend of mine that can do 3D printing.
Hmm.
So I might just do that now. I don't know yet.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just I bought 2 of every leader class Dinobot. I know the sealed boxes. I know I don't need 2. But if anything ever happens to any of these Dinobots, I want to have a replacement ready to go. I bought 2 of the G2 ones in blue, 2 of the Tiger Stripe ones in blue. I don't want that Godzilla Grimlock. And I feel insulted because it's like you took one of the better solid leader class Dinobots, did very minimal effort, and you're charging a little bit more for that.
They swapped in one of the other Dinobots' heads, right? It's like it's not even a new head for Megatron, from my understanding.
I can't remember where that head was an alternate head they had and did not use. I believe. I could
So
be wrong.
I thought it was go look. It'll pull them up. I wanted to say it was just Slag's or not Sledge's head, I think.
Yeah, I think you may be right on that.
Sludge's head, they just repaint it to look like Megatron.
They maybe retooled it slightly.
I mean, honestly, let's put it this way. If they would have leaned so hard into turning that Grimlock into Godzilla, They should have done it the way that the knockoff guys did back in the 80s, where they actually did a knockoff version of Godzilla that was from the Grimlock mold. They could have leaned so hard into that, and that would have landed probably more people than going the direction they had with this. They could have just made him Grimlock as Godzilla.
Yeah, you know the thing that really kind of made me think, if they took that Grimlock, painted him as Hanna-Barbera green animated Godzilla,
Yes.
I would have been a lot more. I would have been a
Yes.
lot more tempted to buy that, because there's so little animated Hanna-Barbera Grimlock merchandise out there. But again, Toei
Yatsuki!
doesn't. Yeah, but see, from what I understand, talking to some Godzilla fans, like super deep Godzilla fans, Toho does not acknowledge the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla
No,
exists.
No.
because like my understanding was when NECA had the license for Godzilla and they were making making figures, they had proposed a Hanna-Barbera Godzilla and it got shot down immediately from Toho. Toho's really weird about the Godzilla license. So my understanding, recently Super 7 did a meltdown Godzilla, which had like a skeleton arm and like a half melted skeleton face and everything. And it turned out that only got approved because Toho Los Angeles approved it without getting it approved by Toho Japan. And Toho Japan wasn't very happy about it. That's my understanding. So there are things that they don't they just will not approve. Like I kind of hope that maybe Super 7 can. I would love Super 7 to be able to make a convincing argument to Toho to let them make it, to at least produce it for what is an American audience, right? That and maybe like a Marvel Godzilla. But those are two things that apparently even NECA tried 5-6 years ago, whenever NECA was making toys, and even then Toho shot it down.
Yeah.
So it's one of those unfortunate things.
Yeah. I think with all of this Synergex stuff, before we move on, I'm going to say this. I think all this is going to be based on price. Whether now the Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, we know that's out the window there, at least for us.
Yeah.
But I think the Predaking, everything we've seen, if they're going to go for this at least masterpiece level collector, if not a little bit higher, going into the Solar Chigoken, because I've known some Solar Chigoken people in the past, masterpiece would be slumming for them. You know, if having known them in the past, that would be like, I guess I'll put it in my, it basically they'd be slumming it at that point from their standpoint, dropping down to what we call the masterpiece level. It's going to be price. It's going to come down. Are they going to make it affordable, heavy lifting air quotes here, enough that people can get it and not like, well, there goes that truck payment for next month. That's what it's going to boil down to.
Well, speaking of price, let's go ahead and start talking about the cat in the room, the Zoids crossover, which turns him into Optimus Prime. This, to me, is probably going to be the most expensive, because I don't know how much anybody knows about the modern Diaclone. It is extremely pricey for a reason. The engineering is insane. Most of these guys part form and can be switched out. Like arms can be switched out, legs can be switched out. Almost every weapon on them are modular from one thing to another, which I think is amazing. But my thing is, you're talking about price. This guy is probably going to be more expensive than most of them. This near, I'd say, is probably going to be giving Predator King maybe a run for its money. Honestly, I'd say probably close to 250 for this. Yeah. Easily.
Well, okay. Now, you know more about you know about Zoids, right?
Hmm?
You know a lot about Zoids as far as the naming and stuff.
I don't remember
do
what
you?
the acronym stands for,
Okay.
but I used to
Well,
watch
no.
Zoids a lot.
Well, Brian had mentioned this on RFC, and I'm just doing this for reference for the audience to get an idea. This is okay. I'm making them backwards. This is supposed to be like the Shield Liger,
Hmm. Yeah.
and supposedly the upgrade version was Blade Liger,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and that's what several people were saying that I've seen online. They wish this was the Blade Liger. I don't know the difference. I don't know
The
pros and
Blade
cons of one or
Liger,
the
okay, I do know the difference between those two. The Blade Liger basically has huge blade claws on his feet, and he also has them coming off the shoulders and like the back thigh area. He usually has large, like sword-like uh, adapted parts.
Yeah, he's got like a a bunch of like blades that. I mean, he's the
Basically,
blade fighter. So he's got a bunch of blades that come off of him.
basically, the Shield Liger to
Okay.
me looks more like a female lion, whenever the Blade Liger looks more like a male lion, because it's got that. It's more buff. It's got more aggressive pieces put on it. Um,
Yeah, in the chaotic. So in the anime, the Chaotic Century anime, um, the protagonist, um, he started out in the Blade Liger, which is what they decided to go with here, for Shield D Prime. Um, and then it eventually transforms into the Shield Liger later into the series. And then, you know,
Okay.
if you as you go along, most all Zoids animes and Zoids shows, there's always the hero character, the main character, is always piloting some sort of Liger. In New Century, it was the Liger Zero. Um, and then there was like the I can't remember. There's a bunch. There's a whole legacy of Ligers in the Zoids
mhm.
franchise. So, um, now you could make the argument potentially that by starting with the Shield Liger, there is always room for them to release
Okay.
more Ligers, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Um,
Start with your base form and then release the upgraded
yeah.
versions later.
right, and that's something I can easily see them doing because if you've been following what version 2 or the second edition, generation 2, whatever you want to call it, of the newer Diaclone stuff, every set that's come out um, has had some kind of upgrade system to them. Um, I personally haven't owned any of them, but I've watched many tour reviews and seen photos and everything. I actually wish I could get my hands on some of them, but there's an
They're
enormous.
pricey.
They're extremely pricey. That's the thing. Like, just to give you guys an idea of how pricey these guys can be. How much was Gridman for you?
I feel like the price has gone up because BBTS has it listed as 220, and I probably paid something close to that. But right now it's up at 220, and that is the one I have is the Diaclone Gridman crossover.
Yeah, so there is a crossover with that, but the thing is, if you look at some of the bits and pieces that came off that Gridman, they're
Mhm.
actually part of a different system. I can't remember. I think it might have been the King Dam design. They just meld the two together. And I remember when the very first King Dam style one came out, because it's basically three vehicles that merge into one robot. Um, when that thing came out, I think averaged at $150 when that first hit. And this is one of the smaller ones. This isn't the bigger style stuff. The other thing is, I don't know, does your Gridman have any motorized bits, like when you press something, like his head pops up, like with a gearing system or anything?
Um,
Like
I
an
did pay two
automorph
twenty.
portion, does it have anything like that that just automatically does that?
I'm trying to recall. I think there was a few spots that are kind of geared together, but I think it's mostly in weapons.
Okay.
Um, there
'Cause-
might be. If it's been a long time since I transformed it. I think I got this. When does BBT? I shipped it to myself. When did I ship this? It doesn't say. Oh, back in 2023. So
Gotcha. Well,
it's mostly been on the shelf since then. But
the reason I'm bringing that up is because when I'm looking at this Shield D Prime design, um, the Kingdom design, the chest piece cockpit part actually would sink into the chest, and as it sinks into the chest, the head would raise up, and it's all geared. And I'm wondering if there may be a similar design, probably built within this one here, that probably will do that, where it raises Optimus's head out. And it's not a real fast thing, but it's also not really slow. If any of you guys have ever played with Starcom from back in the day, you had this gear-driven system that you were able to push something in, and when you press the button, it would automatically, like clockwork, extend out or do something like that. These Diaclone vehicles and such, a lot of them have these kind of gimmicks built into them. That's where a lot of the money goes into, is this self-gearing system. That's all done with springs and cogs. There's no batteries, no nothing. And the fact that this guy here looks like he comes with the motorcycle and two Diaclone figures, that motorcycle is probably going to have some kind of storage spot on Prime, probably somewhere on the back portion. And if you look at the actual Liger portion, where he's actually in Shield Liger mode, there's two different cockpits, and I wouldn't be surprised if the motorcycle probably sits in like the belly or something like that and probably pops out, because those motorcycles aren't just a motorcycle, they actually extend. Usually whenever you have them in their normal mode, they're just small, and then you just kind of pull it out, and then they extend out high enough to be able to put your rider on. And a lot of these riders also have magnets on the feet, so there are ways for you to be able to use magnets on it. And just the articulation in these things are insane, and most of the time the thing's totally parts form. You can sometimes take just the fist off, you can take it off with the elbows sometimes, depending on the way it's designed. God knows what they're going to do with this thing, like design wise. Because
yeah, I'm wondering how much of it.
Straight high end. This is stuff that Soul Shikogan guys buy. This is where that's at.
I'm wondering how much of it is, what percentage of it is Diaclone, what percentage of it is Transformer, and what percentage of it is Zoid, right? When it comes to all the thing, I mean, I hope a lot of the built-in mechanics is more towards the Diaclone side of the things, because like you said, the Diaclone line is like super modular, lots of playability, lots of play style. And then really a lot of it looks wise leans more towards the Zoid and the Transformers. I will say I feel like they put a little too much red on it.
Yeah.
Compared to I don't know if you remember the original artwork. It was a lot more just like kind of gray. I think there was just red shoulder pads.
Right.
And they added more red to it and yellow to it, I think, to try to add more of that Optimus feel to it. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, this is one that I'm super hyped about, because I mean, I was talking to you before the show, but I mean, I grew up in the Toonami era of watching Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, but also Transformers Armada and Zoids. I was coming home and watching Transformers and Zoids. I collected Transformers. I had like almost the entire Armada line, while my brother was collecting all the Zoids. And so if I wanted to play with a Zoid, I'd just go into my brother's room, and he had Zoids. If he wanted to play with Transformers, he'd come into my room and we'd play Transformers. Um, so one of my biggest, I remember when Hasbro first started doing crossover toys. I was like, wouldn't it be really cool if you crossed over Transformers and Zoids? It makes sense. Hasbro owns both properties. They're both robots. And so I can't believe it took until 2025 for this to happen. But, we finally have Zoids, and then to top it off, they're tying in the new Diaclone, which has been kind of just going gangbusters. Like they released so many Diaclone figures, and to have it tied into that, what seems to be very successful, has a lot of playability, a lot of mobility, a lot of modularity. So it'd be interesting to see how it really works with all the Diaclone stuff in particular, because it was kind of out. Hopefully the Diaclone label's not thrown in there just because they wanted to throw in the little Diaclone guys to sit in the cockpits. That's what I'm hoping. That's not why the Diaclone's there.
I mean,
I'm hoping the Diaclone is there because it's more designed to the quality of Diaclone
well, when I was
than it is to
actually
the quality of
coming,
Transformers.
when I was coming over the images of this toy, it looks like there is a lot of modularity that's going to be going on with this thing, because on the back of the Liger, you got that whole little cockpit piece. I guarantee you that probably pops off and becomes like a small little vehicle itself.
One of the images has a grayscale of parts coming off and turning into a vehicle right next to it.
Yeah, it's some kind of
Yeah.
spaceship.
It looks mostly like it's weapons, but that's kind of the thing with Diaclone is everything comes off and turns into something else.
So, Don, do you have any experience with any of these kind of things?
No, I'll be honest. I do listen to several podcasts, and I do listen to WTFTFW. Shout out to Evangelist and the crew over there. And all three of them are collecting Diaclone. Evangelist, Aaron, and TJ Omega. The way they talk about this stuff, it sounds absolutely insane with what you get in a box when you buy any given set of Diaclone. It's like you open it up, you expect the way they talk is like it's the Ark of the Covenant. You open it up and
Yeah.
But for the price that I see this Diaclone stuff, because having grown up with Transformers, having been there before the brand even existed, I was in my early teens when they first brought some of this Godican stuff over. The early Godican stuff that was a predecessor. And I thought it was cool, but I didn't buy any of it. Again, I didn't have a huge amount of money at the time, but given the choice between one of the Godican figures and I can get an Optimus Prime, I got Optimus. So Diaclone has never meant that much to me. I respect it in its history of the Transformers brand, of the robot brand itself, and its place is assured because it's the granddaddy of them all. But the cost of entry now for something that doesn't really resonate with me, I just did not go down that rabbit hole. I have enough.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I am as well. Like I see it all, and I'm like, all this stuff looks really cool. Like it looks like it has so much going on with it.
The rule of cool.
Yeah.
And my only connection to it is that it has a superfluous connection to Transformers. Right? You see that they released the Convoy, which it very clearly has some qualities that make it look like the original Convoy. It makes it look like Optimus Prime. but I don't have a connection to Diaclone the franchise beyond that, and so that the one reason why I have the Diaclone Gridman crossover is because I collect Gridman stuff, and so that gave me an excuse to get something Diaclone, and this the Zoid Transformer crossover would give me another excuse to get something Diaclone. But I've just found it very hard to even think about taking a leap into the whole Diaclone line because it's like you're committing like $200 usually
Hmm.
to buy something that admittedly has like 20 or 30 ways to play with it out of the box, right? But I don't have a connection with any of the lore or any of the history of Diaclone besides them taking Diaclone figures and turning them into Transformers back in the 1980s.
Right.
So
I mean,
it's kind of it. Yeah.
I can understand that 100%. When it comes to like trying to do stuff with like thinking of Diaclone, because growing up during the 80s and such, we didn't know what when I saw some of the Diaclone stuff, it was like, you know, it wasn't under a Diaclone brand because here in the States they changed what it was called. It wasn't actually called Diaclone. I think they called was Gig or something like that's what they called it. And some of those were really, really cool, like cool looking vehicles because you had some that were like like a train that would turn into a jet. Um, yeah, this one that was like a car that turned into like a huge like rolling base. Very, very weird stuff back then. But now that now that I'm older, that I've dived really into what Diaclone is all about. It's kind of interesting seeing that there's this war that's going on between basically the humans and this alien race that's trying to take over and destroy everything. I think it's a very, very interesting story, and I think it's a good lore to get into.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, remember, we did get a taste of that in one of the BotCon sets.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, where they had the Warooters was the Generations Waspinator mold recolored.
Mm-hmm. That was 2016.
That was 2016. That was the last year, wasn't it? St. Charles.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we had the Scoop mold. That was the Scoop. Was it Scoop and Hoist were in their Diaclone colors, I believe. Was it Scoop or was it? I can't remember who else was there, but I mean, so we did get a bit of a Diaclone.
And then they've done a couple of Diaclone in Masterpiece a few times too.
Right.
Well, Melvar absolutely was ecstatic when they did Black Ironhide, and from the Diaclone Ironhide, even if he's not super hepped up on that Ironhide Masterpiece mold, getting Diaclone for him is super important.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad. It's just, not something that I've, really feel a need to dive into.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of joked about it several times, and talking to the other half, I was like, well, if I sold out all my entire collection, I can just go ahead and just start collecting nothing but version 2, the newer Diaclone, and just do that. But I'm just like, that's all I'd be able to afford, because
it's definitely not a line that you if you can collect Diaclone and Soul Chigokin and now this T-Spark stuff, good on you. Awesome. I don't know how you're doing it legally.
Yeah, considering
the
largest robot that they've released for Diaclone actually isn't quite as tall as the newer, like, say, Titan Fort Max.
The robot base.
The Great Robot Base, but it's not sold as one set. You have to buy 2 separate parts, roughly about around $500 a piece for those. So you're basically paying $1,000 for one huge robot that's not quite as tall as Fort Max. On the
And
other
again,
hand,
the playability is off the
yeah, I was
charts
about
for
to
'em,
say, on the other
but
hand,
Yeah.
that thing is packed with elevators and lifting mechanisms and all different kinds of stuff. None of this stuff is battery powered.
yeah,
It's
like
all
just
gear driven.
the aerial Fortress version of it has like 4 vehicles that separate out of it, and landing pads and all that. I mean, it's the playability. It's hard to look at them and not see the value in the prices. I mean, I think I leaked one to because I just happened to be browsing Big Bad Toy Store while we were talking, and I linked to one in the general. But it's like you look at it, it's like it does all this cool stuff. Just the robot mode alone looks amazing, and then as you start scrolling through the pictures, you can put it into like 5 different vehicle modes. It's got multiple different configurations of the robot mode. It's got like a smaller robot mode. It's got like 4 different vehicle modes. Like the line is insane, but it's also it has such a steep upfront cost. It's hard. And enough of it comes out that it feels like it would be kind of hard to collect alongside of other collectibles, and I think that's one of the another one of those barriers that just sort of kept me out of it. And I fully anticipate the Shield D Prime to be at least $200,
Easily.
at least. Yeah.
I'm actually banking about probably 2 to maybe 230. Considering if you look at the loadout that this thing's got, considering it's got the add-on parts for the cockpit portion that turns into like the small gun. It's kind of hard here to see it on the picture here. You can probably see it better here. But all those bits, it also comes with a display ramp, which is basically a launch ramp that looks like it interconnects.
I'm not sure if
probably
that.
with other stuff. I'm assuming.
So
it
I
would
mean,
come with that.
if it does come with that, that is the stand that has come with all the Beast Wars Masterpiece figures since Dinobot. So that stand there is at least a reuse. That is the Masterpiece stand that's kind of become, for better or worse, the sort of standard Masterpiece stand.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I don't see anything wrong with that. It can plug into your other masterpiece, so it can fit in with that. And the other question is 5mm ports. I mean, everybody's been crazy with weaponizers. There you go. You can weaponize your city on this thing. It looks like because it's got 5mm ports. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the little gearing things that are like over the elbows pop off, so you can actually plug in like a weapon or something.
And there are a few Diaclone that are pretty fairly, like, about $100. It's just, it feels like this one it's probably gonna wear the triple crossover on its sleeve when it comes to pricing, because you have 3 different groups that it's targeting all at once.
Right.
Diaclone, Transformer, and Zoid.
And the other question I've got about this thing is I want to know how much actual parts forming it's going to have, because Diaclone is very notorious for the parts forming side. So if you're not into parts formers, you're probably not going to like this thing. But I'll be honest with you, this thing looks amazing, and I want to see more of these. I just do. Give me a Printer King that does that.
And that's where I assume that they probably at least engineered for the Transformer side of things to have this transform without doing a whole lot of parts forming. But I mean, I wouldn't anticipate it to be too hard to do, given that it does kind of look like it's basically the standard Beast Wars cat transformation.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be complicated. My thing is articulated. It being Diaclone, it's going to be built well. They're not going to scam
Oh
on
yeah,
that. That's not going to
That's-
happen. You're not going to worry about quality control there at all.
I think you would be you'd be hard pressed probably to really worry about it. Like Diaclone has kind of been their kind of a high end line, a very collector focused line. So and not so much in the way it's like collector focused playability. It's a very weird line. It's definitely meant to have really cool. I feel like whoever's designing at Takara was like, let's design a line that is really cool to make really elaborate displays. Is really what the line seems to be focused to.
Yeah, and I just think it's an amazing piece. But we know Don isn't going to get it because he's not really into that stuff, which is okay. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I like it, but if I'm going to put that money into something, it will be something that has more of a connection to me, like that Predaking. You know, for
Yeah.
example, something that is more. Even if that Predaking is on its shelf by itself, or I was talking to my wife, it's like it's a beautiful figure that needs to go on a detolf, and there'd be nothing else on the same shelf because nothing else matches. Just put a detolf, there you go. So yeah, I mean, it's just. I mean, I know they're even doing KOs of the Diaclone reboot stuff. I've seen it at several websites.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff sort of just started coming out, I think.
Yeah, so
So I mean, if you're
I
willing to get knockoffs, I don't see a problem with. But from what I heard, I did watch somebody's review on the Power Convoy that had come out, like a knockoff version of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Like, you can tell the difference between an original and that because the tolerances of some of the joints is a lot looser on knockoffs. It's a lot looser.
right,
So you're
right.
gonna
But is
might
that-
also be wary on that.
Yeah, but is that worth $2 to $250 you're saving versus the real one? Again, that's what it comes down to with all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to take less quality to save more money?
It's very, very true. So any predictions on any other crossover things like this that you see coming?
Well, Michael, you go ahead. You go. I'm gonna think on this for a minute.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, we do know. I think I listed them before. We do know that there is. Pat Labor was listed. I think there was something about another Evangelion crossover. I think was announced.
Yeah, I think they said something about
Um,
another Evangelion Prime. And I don't know exactly what they would be doing with that.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what they do with that one. It's. I mean, we're sort of in the shallow end of this whole synergenics thing right now, and I mean, I'm super interested to see where it goes. I kind of hope that the Shield D Prime does really well. I would love to see more. I would love to see more Zoids transformed, even if it's just more Ligers.
I mean, I would love to
I'd-
see
I'd be
Ultra
super
Mammoth.
into that, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to see him take that mammoth, that Zoid mammoth, and make Ultra Mammoth. That would be sick.
but
That's what's
I mean,
up.
realistically though, like any crossover with like any mecha franchise, the possibilities are sort of endless. It really seems like it's very much Takara is driving the ship on this one, right? And so I would expect to see a lot more like Japanese focused things. So far it's all been Japanese properties: Monster Hunter, Godzilla, Macross. But there's so many possibilities of of different things that it could cross over with. That it's kind of hard just to really start enumerating things. Like when you already talk about them doing another Evangelion, and all this different stuff. It's like my mind can go rampant at the possibilities of what the synergetic stuff is. I do hope that the Predaking comes out and is really good, because I would like to see more of that sort of an alternative, a transforming alternative to Flame Toys, and another high-end alternative to Masterpiece, which I think is really cool. And then, on the same line of things, that Shield D Prime also having a nice Transformers sort of related outlet to Diaclone.
That'd be pretty interesting.
I don't know if I answered the question, but that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm hoping to go. Hoping with this whole synergenics thing.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Alan?
Well, now that I've thought about it, I think if we got stuff in the main line, like the Naruto and the Sonic, that were U.S. Hasbro-based crossovers reaching out to other companies to get those. Now we're looking at Japanese-based companies that can work together, because you're not going, from U.S. to Japan for crossovers. Everybody's in Japan. These are Japanese properties. They know their market very well. We are going to be completely blindsided by some of the stuff that we're going to see, because a lot of the barriers to these crossovers are not going to be there, I think, because you're not dealing with an overseas company working with a Japanese company. So if I look at these Valkyries, you're going to see a bunch of Valkyries. Different styles, different colors, different incarnations from across the whole Macross line. But it's going to be like Seekers. You're going to get a bunch of Valkyries. Do I want to see the Cyclone armor? Yes. As Retgar, as anybody. I think the Cyclone armor and the hover tank are my two most favorite pieces of Macross Robotech technology, other than the SDF-1. And let's get an SDF-1 as the flag. Sure. Well, one of the arms is the flag.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Sure, why not? But I think we're going to, like, okay, they're doing more Valkyries, they're doing more of this, but I also think we're going to get, like, I don't know, Ultraman with grit, because they did that combiner last year. That was Evangelion, Godzilla.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
the
that
Shin,
thing.
the Shin combiner, the Hideki Anno.
Common Rider, yeah. So if
Yeah.
they
Oh,
can
that
give us
thing was
that
nuts. I thought it was cool.
before this, before this T-Spark
The
stuff, if we got
Annoverse.
yeah. So if we got that before this is now setting precedents, I don't know what we're going to get, because the possibilities are limitless now.
Hmm?
With properties that we've never even heard of, other than hushed whispers in a convention center. Stuff that they've done Hello Kitty Gundam. Maybe we'll get Hello Kitty Baroness Cobra Rattler, or so. I don't know. It could be anything. Just buckle up and hold on, people, because we gonna get some stuff. And I'm not saying stuff. I'm being polite.
That is something I can 100% agree with all the crazy stuff I've been seeing. What I would like to see, I want to see the RX-78 from Gundam as Optimus Prime. I would love to see that as being an official toy. That
They
would be
did
sick.
have
Yeah,
that in the Death Battle. They had
I
that in the
almost-
Death Battle, so...
Yeah, I almost said Gundam. Gundam's a weird. Gundam's a weird one because I mean there are transforming Gundams, right? So,
Well, the
um,
RX-78 actually has the that add-on armor set where basically it's a jet and tank that kind of combine with him. I forget what it's called offhand. Somebody in the chat probably say something to me or something.
I wish I was more familiar with Gundam than I am, but
Can't remember what his name is, but I would absolutely love to see that thing released as an official toy. Give us that version of Optimus. That'd be cool. You guys want to do Optimus? There you go. Do that for Gundam. Just one and done. You don't need anything else. Just that one.
Well,
I just had
just considering how many Gundams are red and blue and white, pretty much just pick a Gundam and they're already in Optimus colors. All you have to do is add a few extra highlights, add the yellow stripes, and change the head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of memes online too of like I fried my Optimus Prime and it's a Gundam,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. I had a really stupid thought about Initial D. I crossed over
G-Fire.
an Initial D.
Oh, Initial D. Yes. There you go. There you go. Now an AAA6 that turns into Rodimus. That'd be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah. But I think we're going to have to also keep in mind that these are all probably going to be very, very pricey.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Above and beyond, if what we're seeing crossover wise with the Hasbro stuff is your, to use my earlier analogy, the bicycle with the training wheels, this is going to be your Harley. So it's going to be expensive. It's going to be pricey. We're going to have to budget and be prepared for sticker shock because none of this stuff is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna expect most of the things we taught. I would expect the Valkyrie Optimus Prime to be somewhere around $200. I would expect Shield D Prime to be around $200. I definitely expect Predaking to probably be
Pushing that
$400 to $500. That
Yeah.
definitely.
very, very easily.
And again, maybe they were able to use, because we've talked about this before here, and I've talked about on RFC, how if you can look at your shared, like Lao Kaiser, there's a lot of shared engineering in Kill Bison and Drill Horn. There's going to be some shared engineering in Skyhawk and Hellbat. So you're going to have some mirror imaging on those limbs. If they could use some similar engineering for however much they can use in the 4 small limbs for Predaking, it may not be as bad as we're thinking because there'll be enough reuse of skeletal designs, so it's not all, each one is so unique they have to have their own mold with their own everything. So maybe that could be a glimmer of hope.
I'm also hoping that they're not going to use a ton of die cast, because die cast metal's great, but if you're going to use it, put it where it counts. Put it in the feet. Don't put it in the torso. Don't put it on the arms so that way it lunges forward. That's the stuff that breaks joints. I just hope engineers out there start catching on. A lot of third-party stuff has suffered many, many, many times over by just shoving die cast wherever they thought they could shove die cast and cause major problems with the toy later on down the road. Die cast should be left for the feet, really. The lower portion. It should never be in the upper portion. It's just too heavy.
Yeah. I mean,
if MPO1 taught us anything, it was that.
Yeah, that's true. Now, you say that, and I'm thinking, what if we got MPO1 through this T-Spark filter? But we are kind of getting that with MPG-17 with that new Optimus.
Yeah.
Not MPO1 himself, just this is our third new Optimus. We had MPO1, we had MP10, We had MP44. So now we've got this new MPG 17. So
And they did lump MPG underneath the whole Synergenics banner, I believe.
Yeah.
oh, okay, so that's technically that filling that slot. I would love to see them reissue MP01. But can you imagine what that would cost nowadays?
Oh, it'd be ridiculous because of its size, how much die
But
cast that toy actually has in it.
I
yeah,
think it was
and
dangerous, man.
but yeah, it would also fit well into the T Spark theme. To give
Yes.
you
Don't
the old
don't sleep with that thing above your head.
No. Especially if you leave it in robot mode, because you do, it will want to tilt
Yeah.
forward, and it probably will fall and hit you in the head. And then you're
And
going to
if
have
you have
die
a
cast
pet,
hit you right square in the face, because, the chest is quite heavy.
yeah. So I think we're going to get some great stuff. We're going to get some bonker stuff. We're going to get stuff that we don't even realize. Basically, this whole T Spark thing is going to be the old YouTube series. Will it blend? Because they're going to toss stuff together that we had no idea would fit, and it could be pricey. So just buckle up and wait.
and it seemed to have started off. I'm interested to see if we get more stuff that is kind of more along the lines of like the Hasbro crossovers, which is a lot of either clever retooling or when there is a new figure, it's mostly retooling with new figures here and there. Because like the Rathalos Prime and the Godzilla stuff is obviously very, very
Minor.
sort of more Hasbro like crossovers. But everything we've seen since then has been very unique, very sort of new figure, at least for the crossovers. So to be interested to see if maybe those first 4 crossovers at the start of Synergenesis was kind of just like walking before it could run, and that this stuff is kind of more the future of the Synergenics. Is the more high end, sort of dual focused. Let's target 2 different collectors groups. Let's target Macross and Transformers collectors, and if we'll see more of this like high end stuff. It's more costly on one hand, but at the same time, it's when you're talking about imports, it almost makes it more worth it to be a far more unique sort of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I can speak from that when back when Transformers Prime came out, and they had the little the figures you built that were the little weaponizers and such. I'm trying to remember what they were called offhand.
I can't remember what they call them. Did they not just call them microns back
Oh,
then?
yeah, I think they were microns. But they had it would come with say I had Ironhide. That was that cup mold that we had released here in the States, but over there was released as Ironhide, and it arms micron. That's right. And then it came with a little model kit that you built, the little gun dude, because he turns into a guy. It's basically a target master. But they all came with decals and such. So I mean, very very high end feel. Like even that toy, because playing with that Ironhide and playing with the cup, because I had both of those at one time, the Japanese one felt more quality. So when you are purchasing stuff from over there, keep in mind you are paying for quality as well. And a lot of these Synergetics, these are going to be quality toys. These aren't going to be your low, I just got it off the shelf, Hasbro, Walmart, fine type of thing.
And hopefully a more return to form for Takara Transformers.
Yeah, I mean, especially with that Diaclone Liger Optimus thing, that thing has got to be spot on, because they have an enormous amount of money riding on that, because you have the people that are dumping that money for Diaclone, they're going to be expecting the same quality. So everybody that worries about the Hasbro quality being the way it is, you're not going to have to worry about it with that. I can't say as much for the Valkyrie and the Predaking and everything. But I'm kind of hoping that they're gonna learn from this and keep the quality. Which
I'm gonna say one. I'm gonna say one more thing before we wrap up and everything.
Mhm.
As this stuff is revealed, one thing that I hate in any fandom, Transformers, whatever the fandom is, images get revealed. People tear stuff apart by, oh, this looks terrible. This is terrible. This is why this will be terrible. We're going to get really early pictures, probably some of them leaks, no pricing information for a while. If you don't like it, that's fine. There may be people out there. I'm just saying, as this stuff is revealed, everybody needs to say, okay, this could be good. This may not be good. We'll need to wait till we see more pictures. It's like Masterpiece Ironhide. The Takara photography on Masterpiece Ironhide was absolutely horrible. But when the figure came out, it got in front of people, the reviews were done. Was it great? Not really, not the general consensus of opinion, but it was a hell of a lot better than they made it look. So I just want to see, this stuff come out. I just don't want people ripping everything apart because a small little thumbnail and it looks like this or that, or it doesn't have this. We don't know. It's like people that see a trailer for a movie and then rip the movie apart. This is why it'll be bad. You saw a 2-minute trailer for a movie. How can you possibly know how good or bad it'll be? Wait till it comes out. Wait till we get more information. Then make the call.
Mm-hmm. Cyber?
I mean, I'm excited to see more. Crossovers are always fun. If I have any hope, we'll revisit the Transformers crossover in the future and get something far more worth that IP.
And my closing thoughts, if they're going to do any more video game crossovers with Transformers, they need to do the animated Mario and Luigi as official figures, not just the little third-party ones we got. That'd be kind of cool. If you guys want to do a crossover with Mario, just do those. I'd be done with it. Because I think everybody would be happy with that.
Yeah. I like the fact on those figures, was it? Oh yeah, it was Bob Hoskins that they paid tribute to on the bio, in the bio for those figures.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. If they really want to do that, that's what they need to do.
I regret not picking this up.
Oh, how much are those things? I wonder now.
I haven't thought about them in a long time, but yeah, I don't think I was financially in the spot to pick them up at the time. But
Same.
yeah, I'm kind of hoping I'm still hoping Hasbro does some cool stuff with animated stuff and Generations.
Yeah, animated needs a little more love. It's an amazing thing. But
It needs a little more Omega Supreme.
yeah. Yeah. Sprinkle in that Omega Supreme like you would cowbell. But anyway. Well, that's our closing thoughts for the night. We'll be here, same bat time, same bat channel next Sunday. Don't think we have anything else going on, so maybe Megamis will be able to pull him back in. Don't know what he's doing, but yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna have everybody say goodnight, and then we're gonna get out of y'all's hair.
I don't have any hair to get out of, but good night, everybody.
I have a lot of hair to get out of. But good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. I do too. I'll see you.
Use a little less, to be honest.
Same.
Send it to me. I can glue it on. All right, well, guys, I am going to go because I have had no dinner since I got home.